bigger beat. That I'm trying to build melodies, but letting the rhythm of the beat gives me a lot of ideas.
We're going right back to Rise of the Triad. So everyone had that cool uncle or that friend that was rich enough to have a computer. So you'd pop over occasionally and you'd play some really awesome games that you'd never seen before. At this time, I'd seen Doom, I'd seen Castle Wolfenstein, but this was totally different. This had what the kids were going crazy over like 5 years ago, which was, two-mode weapons. So this had a rocket launcher where you could hold the fire trigger and it would turn into... it would stay as one rocket, but you'd let go and then it'd split into two, so you could shoot around corners and stuff. And they had some really interesting weapons in this as well, like a firebomb where you could lob like a grenade and it would create that wall of fire. And you get that cool sound effect with the bones after they're all burnt and they all trickle down. And I like the ambience in this game as well, 'cause with the high walls... and it's enclosed, but it still kind of feels open. The environmental traps were different as well. They're almost like platformer kind of traps, which you don't really see much, especially around that time. It was quite different and interesting. And obviously the color palette and fighting these weird cults, and you've got the Hand of God and Anks flying around, so it was very, very cultish looking. For the day, and that's something that I think is different with the old games compared to the new games. You know how people say the books were better than the movie or show or whatever, because you're using your imagination. In this, there's not. I don't get it. For me, it's not just nostalgia. It's they've got something more with less. There seems to be less focus on did we get, all the bitmaps right? Did we get the, shading right and all that kind of technical stuff? Whereas this, it was purely, let's make some walls, let's make them look creepy, give them some cool guns to run around and shoot with. So to me, it wasn't graphics based, but it was definitely more of a focus on gameplay than anything else. And I like this level. This level reminds me of a particular level in Doom 64. I don't know whether it was in the original Doom, but it had a crying baby in the background, and the architecture was all, massive columns reaching up into the sky, and it was very creepy looking and very ominous. And this is how it feels. It gives you a kind of... what would you call it? When you're stuck in a small room, claustrophobia. It gives you a kind of claustrophobia when you're playing, that you don't often get, or it's done poorly these days. But that is just the way the game's designed. And I love the sound effects as well, and it was very tongue-in-cheek. And now we find ourselves in the remake. So the remake also was quite fun. A lot of the classics, they're even doing it with movies these days, remaking, movies. But I don't think they need to remake everything, especially with the movies, but old games as well. Just bring them back out into light. As you can see, this, the graphics are great. Look at it all, but the environment slightly changed. You've still got environmental... dangers like a platformer, but I don't know, it lacks something. It's like it's taken the imagination away from it. And I'm not saying this is a bad game, but but it still is very tongue-in-cheek, so you do get a bit of, funny attitude. It doesn't take itself seriously, and I do like that in these types of games. They're very good.
Get back to the chopper. Just get back here. You're dead.
So we're going to hop over to the Super Nintendo now and have a look at True Lies, which is a movie license game, obviously covering the same movie of the same name. So you're going to see the same story, you're going to see snippets of Arnie, and it's all the same actors, and it's going to follow the story. You're also going to get a lot of generic sound effects like this. And this isn't the first isometric shooter that has been around. If you want that, you need to go right back to when video games first came out. So you youngins who thinking that this is the first Hotline Miami, isometric shooters have been around for a very long time. Now, I used to hire this game as often as possible along with another isometric shooter which will appear on the list that was also on the SNES, and I'm not going to spoil it for you yet. Now, this game was really difficult, to be honest. I never really got past the mall level. I think once I got to the park level before I returned it, maybe 20 minutes before I returned it, and that was the last time I ever hired the game. Now, you can see now that there's some issues with it. It did have a few cool additions, I would say, features in this particular game, like a strafe button. Without that, you wouldn't be able to get past some of these levels. And there was also the ability to, maybe with the Uzi and the flamethrower, I think you could, you know, spray and pray kind of thing. So Arnie would stay in the one spot and, you know, move his gun left and right and just spray around the map. The issue with that is it's completely useless in this game. But at the time it was really cool because you felt like Arnie, and it tied in well with the, I guess, feeling of the movie. I don't know, it seemed to work well playing this, especially as a kid. You had that, you know, cheesy 80s kind of spy feel with this game. So they did do a good job, despite how hard the game is and the level design and the inherent problems that it had. So I might be quite picky when it comes to video games, but in some instances I'm not. I don't know, I just seem to have liked this game. So here you can see the mechanics of the strafing button in use while I kill these karate clones out here who are practicing in the park. They're just having a nice day and there's no need to run away. Bullets won't affect me. I know karate. Didn't really work there, Bob. So, I mean, look at the design of the park. It's not the best. It's like a maze. Obviously, they wanted to, you know, create more area and more tactical options for you to do your thing. So I'm just mucking around here with cheats just to, you know, have a bit of a play and a bit of a mess about and see how it functions. Comparatively, these days, this is not a innovator. It doesn't really bring anything new, like I said. And apart from the difficulty, shooting the same people over and over again does get old rather quickly. I liked it as a kid, but playing it now, I don't know why I hired it so many times. So here's that spray and pray thing I was talking about, which was quite useless in the game, given the difficulty. Being a non-moving target was, "You're a wizard, Harry," was a really bad idea. It was completely pointless. So this is me cleaning the streets. I never actually looked at the review scores when I was a kid, and I might actually do that now. So I found a review on Honest Gamers by a fellow named Jason, and I didn't actually read the scathing review, I just read the results, 1 out of 10, and that's good enough for me. I'll agree with him on that. But it's something you got to try out. I think it's something you gotta have a bit of a go at. I actually think some people would really enjoy this game. While I'm attacked by Mongo here without a neck, it's not. You know, it's a 1 out of 10, but it's kind of like a sympathy 1 out of 10. You know, you'd give it a sympathy 9. You know, it's not bad. It's not awful. It doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth. It doesn't make you angry. I don't know. It's a difficult game. You'd be lucky to get past anything. And good grief, that guy's. I don't know. I'm speechless at the moment, just watching what's going on here because it's dumb. You could kick the hand grenades around. That's interesting. So I don't know. Give it do what you want.